All right, morning, Richard Moore from 7-StepStartup here. Hope you're having a good day so far. I just wanted to speak to you about getting value propositions right. This is more a reaction to a lot of value propositions that I see online, and a lot of them just simply are missing the mark. If you're unsure, a value proposition is essentially, if you break it down and reverse it, the proposition of what value you're going to bring someone. So when you're talking about your startup business, you need to, as one of the ex-CIOs of BT, Mike Tilley, told me, you need to make sure you are simplistic enough that you can say in one sentence. Any more complex than that, and it's going to be just too much for people to kind of get their heads around, and it switches people off. So a value proposition needs to be basically delivery of what you provide as a product or service. It needs to be gripping enough that in that classic 5.8 seconds of first interaction with someone, you grab them, but there are three key things that it has to have or incorporate in order for it to be effective, and typically these are missed, or at least one of them is missed, and the reaction then of the prospect is lukewarm. So your value proposition needs to be really, really tight with what your potential client's going to want. So you need to make sure you've ideally understood some need, or you've done your research, so you know that you can position yourself in the right place to kind of grip them. So the three things to make sure you nail when you're delivering your value proposition, and when you're kind of giving your one line for what your business does, for instance, starts with resonate. So you have to make sure you resonate with your potential customer. So be aligned with what their interests are and what they do. Ideally, if you've done some research or asked the right kind of questions, you can find out what their needs are. Resonating is not just about what your prospect wants from your service or your product, but also what they want from you as well. So do you resonate with them? Are you their kind of person? You always know when you get this right, because you hear things like, "Oh, it's amazing, you just get me," or "You just understand what I'm saying or what I'm thinking," and "Oh, no one really has ever understood me in that way before." You just feel like you're connecting. So you need to be able to resonate with someone. The second thing is really crucial, and this is the reason often why people beat you down on price or try and look elsewhere, is that you have to differentiate. Whether you like it or not, with 7.3 billion people on the planet, and I wouldn't even like to know how many are online. Is a huge amount. There are several billion probably online. You have to differentiate. But the problem here is that a lot of people try and differentiate between just themselves and their competition, but they're actually missing something there. If you have a competitor who does what you do, sure, you want to look like you are able to propose value that is greater or better for the prospect. But the thing is, if you supply a little bit more value than your competitor, then good. But if it's only a little bit of value in the first place, well, you're also competing with the idea of doing nothing. Okay, so you're not just competing with an actual competitor, as in a person or a business who provides a similar service or product to you. You're competing with the idea of your prospect just simply not spending money at all, and because actually it's not going to make that much difference, so it's not really worth it. And often a lot of people say, look, if you make £1 extra from using our product, then you're making a profit. Yeah, but is it really worth it for all the hard work? So you need massive value, not just to differentiate yourself from competitors, but also from the idea of doing nothing at all. So make sure you clearly show how you differentiate. For instance, 7-StepStartup differentiates itself from millions of startup courses and coaches out there, simply because this is the only one where I've interviewed professors of the top universities in the world, of the business leaders from the most globally recognized businesses and from best-selling authors. So by interviewing these people, it simply means that we have a lot more value and we're therefore a lot more different. But the third thing is, you're resonating, you're really making sense, differentiating so they don't beat you down on price, they're not going to go elsewhere. But even with those two things in place, unless you substantiate or evidence your value proposition, then they're just not going to buy. The only reason someone would buy something if you don't provide evidence or some sense that they're going to get what you're saying they're going to get is if that person's feeling flush and's got some spare cash lying around and said just have it. You can't build a personal fortune or a professional fortune based on hoping people are going to be in that that kind of state of mind. So if you like, there's evidence with 7-Step Startup before someone even buys it. I mean, most people, you probably are one of them, most people come to me because they've seen my free content online. So the evidence is clear, rather than me just talking about the level of content we have. It's also about making sure that people see it before they even buy. So there's plenty of evidence out there that what I say I do is actually what you get. And you need to do the same as well. So resonate, differentiate, and also crucially evidence or substantiate your claims as well. That's going to give you the value proposition that means you win every time. And as Robin Terrell, ex-managing director at Amazon here in the UK, said to me, Richard, you must do everything in your power to understand your customer. If you can do that first, and you look at one of my other videos I did on spin selling and those kind of questions, if you get that right first, then smash your value proposition into that as well. You'll simply get someone begging to buy your product. If you get it right, it does work in that way. So don't have these big claims about your product without resonating with that prospect or that your kind of audience you're after, or without missing out anything that really is going to differentiate you. What's unique? What's your unique selling point about your particular product or service? And what is really unique? It's not something you think is a little bit better, really unique. And then finally, get the evidence in and make it clear as day, show it. Testimonials is a great way as well of just proving that it's going to work too, okay? So hope that helps, and let me know how your value proposition looks.